Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more r/Mighty Butthole. Oh, and guess what? It's Pet Text Tuesday. So thank you so much for everyone for sending your pet text to me at Mark Narrations. Over on Twitter, I've been absolutely loving seeing it, and you will see your pets featured in today's episode. And if you would like to see your pets featured in the next Pet Text Tuesday, send them at Mark Narrations over on Twitter with the hashtag Pet Text Tuesday, so it gives me permission to use them. And let's crack straight on with today's first story. Now, today's first story is one that we covered just recently in another episode, but now comes with an update as well. So please use the timestamps if you would like to skip the initial part of the story, and let's get into it. The title of the story was called Am I the Arsehole for Walking Out of the Airport When I Saw My Husband's Mum Standing There With Her Luggage? And it's from Rhode Island 123. I, female 30, don't have the best relationship with my husband's mum. Since day one, she tried to make remarks and compare me to her. She then tried to get on my good side and started overly praising everything I do, and sometimes even copying me, like that one time when she literally dyed her hair purple just like mine. When everyone pointed out how ridiculous she looked, she actually blamed me and accused me of trying to make a joke out of her. So anyway, my husband and I took 2 weeks off to go visit some places out of the country. Tourism, in other words. Thing is, I was the one who saved up for and arranged the trip. My husband was responsible for booking the tickets. My husband's mum wanted to come along and threw temper tantrums when I said no. She called, texted, sent people to talk to me into letting her come. Even threatened to call the police and make some complaint up to get us to stay if she can't come. My husband said we should just take her, but I told him he was wrong to tell her about the trip in the first place. He gave me an ultimatum, said he wouldn't go if she can't come. And I told him I'd gladly call his bluff, which made him take his words back and say, fine, I will tell her to stop it because we won't take her. Things got quieter, suspiciously quieter. The day of the trip came and we got to the airport at 2 p.m. My husband was walking ahead of me and was looking left and right like he was looking for someone. I asked him, but he didn't respond. He led me to the waiting area and first thing I saw was his mum standing there with her luggage. I froze in my spot. I felt a cold wave washing over me and I was fuming inside. She and my husband were hugging. That's when I quietly turned around and started walking towards the exit. My husband followed me while shouting at me to stop. He tried to stop me, but I told him off in the harshest way possible. He tried to say I was overreacting and that his mum was there anyway and I should let it go and not mess up the trip for us. I told him he and his mum could still go and that I was going home. I went home and sobbed into my dog's fur for several minutes. Turned out he booked her a ticket without me knowing. An hour later, he came home yelling and raging about how pathetic and spiteful I was to walk out and go home and ruin the trip last minute. I told him he caused this to happen. He said that I was being so hard on his mum, it's ridiculous. I refused to fight anymore, but he kept on berating me, then called my family to tell them that the trip was cancelled and it was because of me. My family said that I shouldn't have ruined it for myself and I should have sucked it up and done my best to enjoy. Did I really overreact? And I remember coming into this one the first time and thinking mainly, if she did, I know it's so ridiculous in itself, but if she did let mother-in-law go along to the holiday, then it wouldn't be about them and their couple's trip anyway. Mother-in-law would overrule what they're doing. If you let her get away this time, she's going to do it time and time again. But we'll go into some of the comments and we'll cover some different ones from the first time, just for variety. So Just Rayanne says, not the arsehole, run and take the dog. If he isn't able to see the issue with this and even blames you, he will never change. OP replies saying, my dog is my best friend. He gets me through so much pain and sadness, even depression, by being there for me whenever I need him. I'm blessed to have him. Been 3 years since I had him and he's still excited to see me every time. Particular Policy says, look, this is some next level boundary stomping. Have you read this really old book called Sons and Lovers by chance? Classic lit. Your husband sounds a lot like the protagonist who is in love with his mum. You sound like a hard-working, good and kind person. You can find someone that is willing to set you first in their life, not the arsehole. Pagan Bread says, ruined it for yourself. No, he ruined it. Sounds like you're always going to come second to this woman and no one has the backbone to so much as critique that. I'm so sorry. Not the arsehole, but everyone else is. Absolutely everyone. To which OP replies saying, yes, he tells me that I'm hard to deal with when it comes to his mum and thinks that I'm not willing to work my issues out with her, but I try my best, then get shut down. Safe Representative 4 says, not the arsehole. You told him what your boundary was and you stuck to it. Well done. Your mother-in-law sounds like she has narcissistic tendencies and your husband is a flying monkey. Don't argue with them about it, or they'll just try to poke holes in your argument and get you to doubt yourself. He ruined this. Your boundary didn't. And one more from Fire Goddess 11 who says, you didn't overreact in any way. Anybody else notice that the person who believes that you're overreacting is always the one that has done something shitty? Anyway, by now you've realized that your marriage isn't real. Mama is number one to the mother's boy. So what do you do next, OP? I hope you make yourself number one. OP replies saying, I think that my family were originally on my side, but were just trying to get me to enjoy myself no matter what because they know how much I needed this trip and thought that I should hold on to it despite everything else. OP replies to that saying, I think my family were originally on my side, but were just trying to get me to enjoy myself no matter what because they know how much I needed this trip and thought that I should have held on to it despite everything else. And now with that being said, let's move on to that new update to find out what happened after. So the update says, I don't know where to begin. It's been an absolute nightmare recently and I feel like I was losing my sanity. So for more details about my situation, I have to admit that my husband's mum favours him over all his siblings. This affected his relationship with them and me as well. He's never seen an issue with how differently his mum treats him. It bothered me and made me feel uncomfortable. The whole dynamic made me feel uncomfortable. Going low contact has never been an option, like he has to see her or call her every day. Most of his siblings don't talk to him and I 100% believe it's because of his mum's favouritism like I said. He does bear some blame for not seeing how wrong this is till this day. In many instances I found myself making excuses for his behaviour, even in my post. I did it spontaneously and I don't know why. But I guess it's because of how much I love him and because I really wanted to be able to work these types of things out without letting them affect our marriage. Regarding what happened with the trip, he tried to have a talk with me and most of what he said came from a place of blame. Blame towards me. I just couldn't continue with this argument. I told him I needed space and that I'd be going to stay with my sister for a while. He didn't take that well. He literally got up from the couch and opened the door telling me to go right then. In that moment and seeing how he was just not even anywhere near understanding what he has done just made things perfectly clear to me. I just had pictured years and years of my life being lived like that and I was like, no, I can't do it. Can't take any more of it, especially when he keeps focusing on being right every time. His mum can do no wrong. I'm always the aggressive, crazy, jealous, pathetic overreactor. All these people's opinions, advice and concerns were like a spark, like the wake-up call I really needed. Though I wish it hadn't gone this far, but what's done is done. Right now I'm staying with my sister. I brought my dog with me as well. He sent me his last message telling me I'm the one choosing to end what we had together, but I believe it is the other way round, especially with how he keeps making his mum the victim in this situation. It's become clear now that we keep going in circles with no end in reach and I'm just so exhausted and overwhelmed. I'm not mad at him and don't expect him to change, but at least I'm given options to decide what's best for me and my future, even if it's separation and divorce. A big thank you to those who reached out with resources that I feel very lucky to have come across. Just wanted to give you an update since many of you asked for it. And the last time we covered that story, the original story, many of the comments were saying, they can only see this ending in divorce, and it looks like that's what's going to happen right here. Simply because the husband's just putting all the blame on OP and constantly enabling his own mum. Oh dear. Anyway, what do you guys make of this? What do you think of the new update? Would you have done the same? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Reddit Randalzo, who says, am I the arsehole for embarrassing my stepdad in front of his family saying he's in my house? For the past few months, I, 17 male, haven't had a good relationship with my mum or stepdad. I'm angry at them because 2 years ago when my dad passed away, he left me inheritance that I'm supposed to get on my 18th birthday. I'm also getting survivor's benefit that my mum uses for me when I need things, so it's not like she used this inheritance for me. They bought a house that we moved into. It was weird for me because we always lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. My stepdad is a substitute teacher and my mum's a part-time receptionist. They never even had enough to go for vacation or something, but all of a sudden they had for a large house out of nowhere. My mum looked guilty about it until she finally admitted they used some of what my dad left me to buy the house. I lost my shit. They tried to justify that it was for me too, and I asked them, does that mean they're moving out when I'm 18 and the house is going to be in my name? And they're like, no. That's what I thought. Supposedly the house was for me, but my max time I would have lived there was a few months. There's still some money left if I went to a cheap college, but still can't believe they used my money for something on themselves. That amount could have helped me get my own damn house. Also think it's funny since my stepdad didn't like my dad because since I was spending more time with him, that meant my mum had to pay a little in child support, but he doesn't care, using the money he left for me. Sorry if this is a bit of a rant, but where I'm asking if I was the arsehole was last Sunday. His family all came to stay at the house. They stayed Friday night, so it was next morning where I'm getting ready to go to work. I made myself eggs in a hurry, and before I left, my stepdad asked how come there wasn't more for his family. And told him it's because I'm already leaving for work. There wasn't going to be time to make something for everyone. He acted like it's not a big deal if I'm a little late since it's rare they have people over at the house. We go back and forth and I'm not going to stop to make breakfast when he can do it himself. Then he pulled that "don't talk to me like that in my house." By the way, there's no door in the kitchen and that leads right to the living room so they could all hear this. I said loudly, actually it's my house since you paid for it with my money, and don't forget they stole from me. My mum is expecting me to apologize for embarrassing him in front of his whole family because after I left they all had shit to say about it. They already went home by the time I got home, but you could feel the tension. He straight up ignored me, that's how bad it was. I don't feel like there's anything for me to apologize for, so that's where she thinks I'm not being a good son and kind of an a-hole. Want to know if others feel the same. And my first thoughts on this was like, if this money is actually legally yours, it's in your name and it was spent, then you need to be talking to a lawyer about this. They spent your money on a house that's not even in your name, so surely there's got to be some legalities here. And I was looking through the comments to see if I could find any additional information, and Arisian Impulse says, not the arsehole and no shit about it. You need to talk to a lawyer ASAP. You may be misunderstanding the situation, but if you as the beneficiary take issue with the use of funds left for your benefit, you have rights to have that addressed. And OP replies saying, what is there to misunderstand? Raccoon says, I think there are some distinctions to stealing. Like if your dad left the money for you but legally put it in your mum's name and not yours. She's morally 1000% wrong, but you have no legal recourse. If the inheritance was legally in your name, she shouldn't have been able to access it, which is why it's a bit confusing unless they went as far as to commit fraud and out your signatures on things. That's why you'll need some legal help and to see the documentation of this inheritance. And OP replies saying, I know for a fact the money was put in the trust under my name, but since I'm still not 18 yet, my mum still had access to it, I believe. Not 100% sure how it works, but I know for a fact it's in my name. Mouthwash and Band-Aid says, do you have any other family you can trust? How do you know the money was left only to you? Were your parents still together when he died? If that were the case, the money would have most likely went to your mum. You need someone to show the documents that show that the money was yours and not hers to do anything. OP replies saying no, she was already married to my stepdad. The money was left to me because there's literally no other family on my dad's side, so it was left for me. And there's just many comments all going down this legal route. So one more from Rick Hacks who says, you're absolutely not the arsehole. You could probably pursue legal actions because they are not meant to touch money that your father left for you, let alone buy a house and leave barely anything for you. It's disgusting and just immoral to steal from a dead man and your own son. The fact he wanted you to make his whole family breakfast just shows he's taking advantage of you. You are not his slave. You owe him nothing and he should be embarrassed to use his stepson's inheritance to buy a house and then call it his own. You have nothing to apologize for. And just going back to the initial question, I know it's far bigger than that question about saying embarrassing him in front of his family. But this is absolutely on him. He's the one who's claimed it was his house, when it's been bought with your money. Holy shit, what do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Objective Cry 9118, who says, am I the arsehole for asking my stepdaughter to wake 20 minutes early so she can make breakfast? My husband and I just had our last kid a month ago. He has 2 from a previous marriage, Paul, 23 male, and my stepdaughter Maddie, 16 female. She lives with us full time. We also had 4 kids ourselves, Jason, 7 male, Mia, 5 female, Lewis, 3 male, and our baby boy Joshua. My stepdaughter isn't really that involved with me, but she's really close to her younger siblings. I've never asked something like this before. During my previous pregnancies, my husband was there to help me out, since he had a more flexible schedule. But now he has a new job that requires him to be there at 6 AM minimum, when our kids mostly wake at 7 to 7:30. Lately, I've been really tired since Joshua is a big crier, and I've decided to take long nights since my husband needs to sleep well or he might have an accident at his job. This has caused me to have big migraines because I sleep very little and I wake up to screaming children running around. My stepdaughter is very chill. I take almost no care of her since she's pretty self-sufficient. During mornings, she prefers not to eat breakfast since most times it makes her feel dizzy throughout the day. So while she wakes up with the kids, she just stays in her room getting ready. Today I pulled her aside and asked her if she could wake up 20 minutes early so she could help me making breakfast for the kids, and I'll wake up by 8 AM to take them all to school. This would give me 1 hour more sleep and to feel ready for the day. She said no because her siblings are pretty energetic and she doesn't feel like she can't take care of them or get Lewis to eat all his food. And it would also mean that she has to make sure Jason and Mia are ready for school, dress them and make sure everything is in their bag so I can just grab them and take them. I tried to explain how I've been feeling really bad because I'm not sleeping well, and she just shrugged and said, I said no, I'm not their mum. Ask Dad to help you or get a babysitter. I also stay up until late doing homework, but I'm not asking you to make me breakfast every day or drive me to school. And she left. I texted my husband what happened and I mentioned how I would like if we could convince her. But he said I was an arsehole and that Maddie was right. We spoke on the phone and he sounded pretty mad. He said I better not ask her again and he'd take the rest of the night with Joshua, and I should have asked him before. I'm confused. I only asked her to help and wake up 20 minutes early. She lives with us after all, so I don't know why it's that big of a deal. Now to me it's one of those situations, you're not the arsehole for asking for assistance, but you are the arsehole for pushing it. And she even gave you the courtesy of giving you the reasons why she doesn't want to do it. It's not that, she's just getting up early to watch the kids or anything. She's getting them ready for school. She's trying to get them to eat. It's a lot of stress when she got her own things to do in the day as well. And I myself, I've looked after my nieces whilst I was growing up, to help out my parents. But that was my choice, we got along and we did things together. If I was to have said no back then, I would have expected my parents and my brother to respect that as well. But Captain Spacepants says you're the arsehole. Your stepdaughter was 100% correct. You are the parent, she is not. She isn't just making breakfast. You're asking her to do the full morning routine for all of her siblings. Totally not okay. Kieran says you're the arsehole. Maddie just described a whole lot more going on than you expected her to do, other than just getting up and making breakfast. Even then, you should have talked to your husband first and not press it. Why do people have more kids than they can handle and then always complain about it when the teenagers don't help enough? Jorno Jimbo says, I've got the social repost title. Woman expects stepdaughter to take over mothering duties so she can sleep in. Mission Revolution says you're the arsehole. Your stepdaughter didn't have 4 additional kids. You and your husband did. Your husband can either help you with nights or you guys can hire help, but your stepdaughter needs her rest as a teen more than you or your husband. Teens need more rest than everyone but babies, plus she has to prepare for her day at school. SD starting out says you're the arsehole. You were not the arsehole to ask her. She said no. You kept pushing it, and now you text your husband asking him to push it, and quotes, I only asked her to help and wake up 20 minutes early, then says seriously, she explained it to you. It's not just waking up 20 minutes early, it's 20 minutes early plus giving up her entire morning time to get your children ready. And quotes again saying, she said no because her siblings are pretty energetic and she doesn't feel like she can take care of them or get Lewis to eat all his food. And also, it means that she has to make sure Jason and Mia are ready for school, dress them and make sure everything is in their bags so I can just grab them and take them, and then says anyone with a single ounce of backbone is going to say no to that. That is not simply get up 20 minutes early. Kudos to the father for supporting her. Now, what would you do if you was in stepdaughter's position? Do you disagree with the verdicts here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, a huge thank you for getting involved in the channel. Your love, support and time always means the absolute world to me, and for sending your pet tags as well. And don't forget, if you would like your pets featured in the next Pet Tags Tuesday, don't forget to send it to me at Narrations on Twitter, and don't forget the hashtag as well, Pet Tags Tuesday, so I know I have permission to put it into the video. Thank you so much guys, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care guys, much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today